Now, for the last few months, with restaurants, bars and retail stores all shut and the nation having to stay within the four walls of their homes, there could be a silver lining for young people saving some money for the future. And with the average house deposit being a staggering £50,000, how easy is it to encourage your kids to save? So do you think that could be a bit of a bright side, Gloria, to this?
Well, I tell you what, my blood curdles when I hear you say £50,000 to save that. And I know I'm jumping a few generations here, but I look at my grandchildren now, some grown-up children who are working, and I don't know how they would ever save up a deposit for a house or a flat, because when I look at what when they're sharing even in a house while they're working, it's something like £800 a month, their share, plus all those fares to get to work. And I just think, how would you ever do that? However, I do think that from my generation back, of course, that the culture has changed because we were having babies and so on at 20, 21, 22. That culture has changed to a degree. Our first house, cost £2,800 to buy. It was an American bungalow, sunken lounge, a sunken bath. It was fabulous. And if you wanted heating, it was £300 extra. I can hardly believe that in my lifetime. But the point was that we managed the mortgage because our expectation was low in terms of we didn't have big fancy holidays, we didn't have 2 or 3 cars in the family, and we paid 17.5% mortgage and still bought the house. So I think that with young people, if you want to have a flat or you want to have a house, you're going to have to really concentrate on that and save. And maybe while you are locked down with your parents, that would be a good time to start. But I think you have to be taught to save. Indeed, my dad taught me to save way back.
Don't you think it depends where you live, though, as well? Because I mean, my first house, I was living in Birmingham, and it was a 3-bedroom Victorian terrace. It was a really lovely house, and it cost me £14,500, which, of course, my kids now go, oh, my God, that's so cheap. But it's relative, isn't it? Because I wasn't earning very much. But in London, in particular, and I would hazard a guess Manchester and all the other big cities, it's really expensive to buy property. So I fail to see how anybody can get their foot on the ladder these days with you know, I mean, we did a little thing here where it says if you gave up your takeaway cup of coffee every day for 5 years, you would save £4,500 over 5 years. And if you did the same with avocado on toast, if that's what you eat, you'd save £8,200. That's still only £12,800 after 5 years. And you just said 50 grand for an average deposit.
Yeah, and you haven't even had any toast.
Well,
in 5 years.
I think the way I kind of did it with the kids, when I got ill 2015, that was kind of my wake-up call of I've got no savings, I didn't have a pension, and I wasn't able to work because of the operation that I had after the illness. And it was coming out of that 6 months later that I said to myself, right, I don't ever want to be stuck like this ever again. I'm going to try and put some money towards my savings. And I think I've rolled that out to Jamal and Tanisha. Tanisha was actually trying to start saving before lockdown happened, and then she got made redundant from her job. And so it's like, you know, she tries and then something happens and it just pushes you back to square one. But I had a bottle, you know, one of these big plastic bottles, and you put all your loose coins in. I tried lots of different things to try and get them into the money.
But you know, of course, also savings you used to get something for your savings, and now
there's no interest rate.
That's right, you have nothing. I come back though. I'm not knocking young people at all, but the son of a friend of mine, I mean, he buys designer gear and I know he doesn't earn that much, but designer gear that I couldn't afford, and I've been working for hundreds of years, exotic holidays, a very, very fancy car. So I think the expectation of life has really changed from certainly when my dad was saying the first £100 you save will be the hardest. But he taught me to save, and I think he drilled it into me that you always had to have something at your back. And I've always tried to stick to that. But I don't know, I think it's very tough for young kids, I do.
I think that the thought processes are very different now, because I always had the mindset of if you can't afford it, you don't buy it. And you save up your money until you have the full amount and then you buy it. Whereas nowadays, nobody seems to do that now. You can get things on credit, or you would use your credit cards, or what have you. But, you know, for me, obviously, I'm trying to educate an 18-year-old in terms of saving and putting money to one side, with the mindset as you're saving for a rainy day. This is the rainy day.
Yeah.
This is, okay, no one could have foreseen there'd be a global pandemic, but at any instant, whether it's your circumstance, whether you're being made redundant, it's reassuring just to have that buffer so that you can find your feet again.
Absolutely.
So maybe seeing their parents going through what many people will be going through now will spur
Tough.
people on, hopefully.